I just gotta ask, where do you come up with these kinds of pickup names? It might not be a pickup team. I'll be honest, I don't know. I'm so used to seeing these kinds of names all the time in SOS. Squid Busters, I know, is an actual team. I've seen them play in a few events before.
Listen, I'm always here for a Hatsune Miku joke in the name, but speaking of which, we are going to be look at these teams. They're rushing to mid to go get this Rainmaker on humpback, and I'm already seeing Patrick. Patrick doesn't even have stealth jump. This sploosh is absolutely raring to go to just burst that Rainmaker shield open and go, go, go.
Already, Katsune Meowku has already gotten a triple, looking to immediately break the checkpoint as the Octobrush and Sploosh worked together to take a lot of names, immediately getting another double on the side of Squid Busters, who, in spite of their double hammer comp, are not able to prevent the checkpoint break.
I hope someone clipped Jokera saying immediately Hatsune Meowku gets a triple, but not surprising that this double hammer comp wasn't necessarily doing much for them, as many of you know, there's been a recent nerf to hammer and its radius, so maybe not as oppressive as it used to be. But speaking of oppressive, Lily with that well string kind of matching that sploosh in that object damage, definitely putting in a lot of work to make sure that Catsune Meowku doesn't continue with that push.
Yeah, just seeing so many things, but Catsune Meowku is just playing so much. They're playing an extremely aggressive comp here. So many weapons want to push up far, as we see the Comets coming out with the Kraken, looking to try and prevent, at least disrupt Squid Busters from being able to push even further, in spite of having taken mid. As Meowku has already immediately taken back mid and looking to at least prevent the Rainmaker from pushing any further.
Yes, listen, this name, a little hard to take seriously, but clearly they should not be taken lightly, given how far they pushed and how good of a job they're doing from kind of stopping Squid Busters from getting a solid push in. But you see Patrick doing sploosh things, going for that flank, doesn't even necessarily have to get anyone down. The rest of their teammates just clean that up. So once again, another pickup for Catsune Meowku as they come around the bend to this choke area and see if they can get even more on the board.
They have so many rushdown specials already looking to push up, take so many names, take so much space here as they get down to 14 on Rainmaker Humpback, which is a really solid lead, but from something I at least know on this map, Patrick is already contesting, fighting against all 4 members to prevent the Rainmaker from popping on the side of Squid Busters.
Yeah, I have to call out Patrick here. Aside from having that sploosh, having the object damage, to really contest a team of people trying to shoot Rainmaker, I think it was just a 1v1 and they had the confidence to just dive the last person alive and get that pick, and I think that really worked out for them. But in the meantime, 3 members of Squid Busters down. They do, I think, get that check, which is going to be huge for them. Now they can finally start a push and see if they can take that. But pick gonna happen here for Catsune Meowku. Once again, we have a rush down special taking people down, and this is feeling like a bloodbath. Finally, Squid Busters getting another push in here, and we'll see if they're able to take the lead. Not quite gonna happen.
Yeah, this is something I've noticed on this map, especially as Patrick immediately just drops it, is looking to take it all the way around, is looking to push it all the way back to the other side of the map. But you never have a safe lead on this map. Squid Busters still have a minute left, are currently up to 26, but with how easily they were able to push to 26, there's a good chance they could just take the lead back.
All of these specials are just so aggressive. You have that Kraken coming out from the Comet's Octobrush. This 1v1 between Patrick and ZH. Ultimately, ZH, that going to come out on top. Leave that for Velvet to pop so that they can continue once again. They go into mid. This Zuka is active, and like the retake pressure is absolutely insane. I think the most passive thing we maybe have in the entire is a wave breaker. And in the meantime, Velvet just holding this corner. They're gonna get rushed down by this now crackening rush, and I think that is unfortunately all she wrote.
That game, there were so many fights happening in that game. It felt like there was a fight happening everywhere on the map, as we kept seeing players go down left, right, and center all across the map. With again the extremely aggressive comp, I think both teams honestly had extremely aggressive comps. But Catsune Meowku just had the greater amount of aggression. I don't know how you would describe that.
Honestly, I'd say Catsune Meowku, what they had was Patrick, right? That sploosh that didn't even have stealth jump just went full stocks in in that swim speed, and I think that's why we saw them, like, when they dropped it immediately and Patrick immediately just like slam it to the enemy elbow. This is the push that ultimately got them the win, and I think here's what I'm talking about. One person up, and yet Patrick feels confident just diving that person instead of even stepping back for their team to get jumps. I think it is that aggression ultimately that got them the W in the end.
Yeah, but I think even still, Squidbusters, here we see Squidbusters a huge push down to 26. They had just broken the checkpoint and were still able to get down to 26. So I do think that, like, even in spite of Catsune Meowku taking the win, we're probably gonna be seeing a very close set between both teams here as we move into our next game on Clamblitz Scorch Gorge.
Yeah, honestly, this is going to be an exciting one to me because you have teams with these aggressive specials. I think we have Bazooka, we have lots of Ultra. It's going to be fun. I think that when it comes to Scorch Gorge, pushing up to that basket, up that ramp, it can be kind of a choke point. The enemy team can bomb it out. So watching these teams just pop their specials and do what they need to do to get through that choke point and to the basket, I'm sure is going to be very entertaining, just like Rainmaker Humpback was.
Yeah, I'm certain we are going to be seeing some flanks around the grates on this map to get around and provide some disruption for either team that are currently locking out their plat here.
I'm certainly curious to see what these loadouts are. I think Wellstring and Sploosh are typically used for Rainmaker specifically, and you see both of those players opting to switch on to something else. We're going to be seeing the Sticker Stamper out of Patrick, so they have that Booyah likely for pushing, and Lily going to be on the, I think the Inkling Bow with Chumps.
Yeah, a lot of paint coming out on the side of Squidbusters, and Glenn able to take care of a lot of the paint comps that would allow for their blaster and mini to take a lot of space. Squidbusters already getting a double here with that stamp, already sort of taking massive control of mid here. Trying to get clams, just trying to find an opportunity to push in and break into the basket.
Yes, it felt as though Squidbusters had a really heavy hold on mid, but Catsune Meowku really chipping away at it little by little, sure to extend, which is very interesting. As that last game, I feel like no one was necessarily about overextending. And speaking of which, we have this Comet's Octobrush just diving the team, being punished for that, though getting a trade out of it ultimately. I think it's going to be super helpful. And Lily activating that flow aura, taking that mid once again, as much as Katsune Meowku was chipping away at that lead. Oh! 3 of them go down in one go. Really great shutdown here.
Yeah, neither team has really been able to get a solid push going. Whenever they do take control of mid, it just gets shut down by the other team, or they never have enough players as they would want down. Squidbusters has definitely, I think, had the most control of mid here. But even still, they're just not able to push in. Meowku keeps locking them out, preventing them from finding an opportunity to get in. We'll see if their mini can find something that with their stamp here, already priming a jump in, allowing Squidbusters to finally put some points on the board.
It's so funny, Jokera. I was just thinking to myself as I looked up at the UI, I'm like, hey, why is it so difficult for them to push? They've got that hammer and they've got that booyah. And just as I thought that, they popped both and finally successfully pushed in. So they just barely have the clam economy to keep this going. They're down to 53, past that magical 60-point mark you want to get to, so you don't just give the other team a power reason. And I think with 2 people down, that spells the end of this push, and it's especially important that those 2 people are waiting for Katsune Meowku in this elbow area, because wipe Scorch Gorge is small enough that a counter push is imminent. So good job keeping Katsune Meowku in check.
Yeah, I mean, again, Meowku, the pushing in, the Squidbusters is still just able to push them back out, not able to get any solid control over mid here. I definitely feel that the bow has been helping a lot here, providing a lot of paint, getting a nice pick on that heavy splatling there, looking to try and take out Patrick there on the stickers stamper, and Squidbusters again priming themselves in order to having enough clams, making a power, or looking to try and push in again, not able to find anything, but still having good control over mid.
Oh, and unfortunately, that is going to be a power clam just expiring before Patrick can get it, and Patrick will go down as well. We have Flow Aura activated, and a push is imminent. I think this brush is just kind of trying to survive for their life, but Lily has this prime positioning. It feels as though they haven't been moved this entire time. They can just kind of chip out whoever it is they want, and they know that they have time on their side. They have just under a minute left here, and a pretty good hold. So a bit of a flank there. I think Patrick getting a really critical pick, but we'll see if this actually culminates in a score on the basket.
Yeah, the Meowku Octobrush finding a good flank, getting a double there, putting both Power Clan members, both Power Clans on the side of Squidbusters down. It's going to be a matter of if Meowku even has enough clams here to maintain a push, and if they can even get into the basket here. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to maintain that push for longer. They still do have a pity, and they are still going to have some amount of time in overtime, and with control of mid, there is a solid chance that they could make a counter push to try and get the lead.
Yes, we're going to be triggering overtime here, so there is time. I think for the first time we have Misuteru here on the heavy, just going to check that Ultra Stamp. That's exactly what they needed. And they have the Custom Blaster just lying in wait, and they shark out 2 members. I think the brush is trying to keep it going, but there's not enough time. That was a close one, and honestly, we might have seen a turnover if they were able to score that. Really close one there.
Yeah, it definitely felt like Squidbusters just had so much of a harder lockout over mid in comparison to that previous game where it felt like Meowku was just putting Squidbusters all over the map, trying to have them take fights, attempting to disrupt any amount of hold that they could and any protection that they could over the checkpoints. But here, Squidbusters were not deterred. They were not moved out. If we see again the bow getting that very solid pick there on the heavy splatling, and already again just had the potential, had the control over mid, had the clams, had the ability to just maintain push and prevent Meowku from even getting any clams to begin with.
Yeah, it felt like you had Lily versus Lily on the bow versus Mizuteru L on the heavy splatling, and it felt as though the bow was really able to set up and keep control of mid for practically the whole game, while you have Mizuteru L here having a little bit of struggle keeping space, having to constantly back up comparatively. And I have to wonder, having Patrick on this weapon, on this midline that's a little bit less aggressive, you know, maybe a little less likely to dive people, I felt like a lot of the aggression for the most part was coming out of the brush and the brush alone. And I wonder if that was to Catsune Meowku's detriment.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate, especially with them only being able to get one push in. Notably, thanks again to a lot of disrupting Squidbuster's entire hold over the checkpoint. So I think it's gonna be interesting as we get into our last game of the set here. Both teams 1-1 on Hagglefish Splat Zones.
Yes, I personally like to call this stage and mode the great equalizer, because I feel like Splat Zones Hagglefish is so standard to absolutely every competition. Everyone roughly knows how to play this. I think that there are flanks, there's a lot of things for you to utilize, good sight lines, and so both of these teams have queued in. No change from Patrick, notably. No change from either of these teams for their comps. So they're just gonna lock in and see how it goes on this really conventional map mode.
Yeah, I mean, both teams, they have the paint, they have the solid aggression. It's gonna be interesting to see as Catsune Meowku immediately gets one down, goes zone one down themselves. Currently having somewhat control over the zone, trying to do anything to get the zone here. Squidbusters immediately takes it back. Both teams are currently, we're just seeing a lot of skirmishes, a lot of slow fights from both teams, just looking to try and get any amount of lead here.
Yeah, but somehow, at least for now, it felt like Squidbusters had a nice hold here. But I think with those two members going down, perhaps caught off guard, because we heard that splashdown, especially perhaps by panic. But Lily just getting that ink tank refill, especially with those chumps, is going to allow their team to go back in here. And I think chained in with this booyah, this is just a wave of paint and pressure that really puts two of those members of Squidbusters out of position. So I think a little bit of punishment there for over-committing perhaps, but I think this is a really good push and hold for Squidbusters so far.
Yeah, Splashdown coming in to take a triple, I believe. Either triple or double. I'm not too certain where that third member died. Squidbusters immediately trying to getting a really solid lead here, all the way down the 22. Kraken looking to disrupt, able to take out the custom blaster. It's not able to deter Squidbusters from taking the zone. Chumps coming out here. Both teams fighting over the zone. Catsune Meowku finally able to put a stop to Squidbusters' push.
Yes, and there's going to be a trade there with that Ultra Stamp, and two members of Catsune Meowku moving up, seeing if they can put some pressure on Lily, and it's going to do just that. Lily backs up along with the rest of their team, Patrick ledging under this tent area bottom right, and I think Velvet just trying to take some of that space to place a few of the members, and it seems as though like Catsune Meowku has really found their footing. Three of those members are going to be there, but the last person up is going to be that heavy with low aura. So Boo gonna cap off that zone for good, and I think that Catsune Meowku almost really got there. They had something going, but Squid Busters definitely hitting.
Yeah, I mean, both teams fighting to see the Octo Brush all the way on the other side of the map. Once again, using that Kraken to disrupt Squid Busters, finding Meowku the zone again. Squid Busters is currently just waiting for their specials. Booyah Bomb gets popped here. Hammer also gets popped. A lot of specials are coming out right now on both teams as they're just trying to look to maintain their lead.
Yeah, it feels like both of these teams right now are being kind of tentative. You saw that Booyah Bomb be thrown out from the forge along with paint, rather than just trying to knock out. Everyone's just kind of biding their time. But Silly Cat, you see, gonna get the drinks ready for the team. The chumps out as well. And we're just over a minute left, but you see, there's just so much off-angle play that I'm seeing. Like, everyone trying to get these sneaky picks, because sometimes all you need is two people holding hands, placed in the same place, especially up against the splashdown, and that can really give you the hold that you need.
Yeah, as we see the splashdown coming in, looking to find a pick on the heavy. Hammer coming on the side of Squid Busters as a counter to counter that 2 down, or the blaster going down. Squid Busters again taking back the zone. Chumps coming out, getting Meowku down to 1, essentially getting a wipe with the Chumps taking out that ends up there. As Squid Busters is looking to lock out Meowku again, same with what they did earlier in the match.
Hey, what can I say? Like I said, sometimes all it needs is a well-placed splashdown, and I think that really gets you what you need. But we have a bit of an early Booyah Bomb here from Velvet. They're just going to throw it on themselves to counter Booyah, the one that was thrown, and they are counting down to the single numbers, and at the end of the day, they win this paint out, and that's going to be Squid Busters taking the set 2-1.
Yeah, it felt like that last game, Meowku was just not able to get a solid hold. They did have a pretty good hold over the zone, but I don't know what happened. Maybe they didn't move up as far as they needed to, or had to move back faster than they wanted to. They're just not able to find any solid ground when they were able to get a push, and Squid Busters just kept pushing back in again and again to keep adding more and more penalty on the Squid Busters, and were able to take the set.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of really good strategy that we saw, like the use of specials. You see this splashdown doing exactly what it needed to when it needed to do it. So definitely gonna have to shout out that blaster player, which I believe actually were they also on Brush at one point? Maybe I'm trolling with that. No, they weren't. I my comps are getting. Am I wrong?
I don't think I didn't see a Brush last game out of the first game. I'm not too sure what they played the first game. I'll be honest.
The first game, very interesting with those comps. But I think ultimately, some really well-placed specials is what kind of won them the day at the end there. So really good showing there from Squid Busters, and I'm sure it's really good to get these games in for Low Ink. But I think that's essentially going to be it, at least for our time. I think that I know what you're all wondering. And that's how the NASDAQ is doing. The NASDAQ is at 21,000 at the moment, but the second most thing that I know you guys is where you can find Super Jokera online.
To provide an answer.
The people want it.
To provide an answer for that, you can find me in a bunch of places, notably at why does it say Super Joker? Okay.
Super.
Supposed to say Super Joker